Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar between Zendesk and Novo. We're going to deep dive and see just how Novo, a fintech startup, has been using CX to disrupt the finance industry.
My name is Kristen Durham. I'm the VP of Startup Initiatives here at Zendesk. I also serve as the Chief of Staff to our CEO, and I'm so pleased to be joined today by Brian Kale, Head of Customer Success at Novo. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks a lot. I'm excited to be here. Novo is a small business banking platform, and we're looking to revolutionize the business banking experience for modern founders.
Cool. And for our listeners, let us know, how did you get involved in startups and in the financial services industry?
It's kind of a funny story. About 4 years ago, when I just moved to New York, I applied for a job that I thought was fake at an artificial intelligence company and didn't hear back from them for a couple months, and they emailed me, and I had a phone call set up, and then I started like 4 days later at a company called X.AI, where I was there for, I think, 3.5 years, and I joined Novo. It was also a startup, so this is my second startup. I joined Novo here in January, 9 months ago now, so it's been a wild ride here in New York.
Fantastic. And both being very real companies, I take it.
Both being very real startups. X.AI had gotten to B round. I think they raised 2 B rounds, and Novo were on our seed round, not seed. And it's only looking up from here at Novo. So it's been a really exciting time. The startup industry, as I'm sure you know at Zendesk, is wild. It's always accelerating. It's like a rocket ship that's falling apart while you're building it at the same time, and it's something that once you get in it, you can never leave it. It's great.
Definitely. Before I joined Zendesk, I was actually in financial services myself. I had worked at a bank, really very much targeted at startups. So for me today, it's super exciting to see kind of my current work and my past role in banking kind of coming together, and I'm super happy to talk with you about it, Brian.
So you have like two perspectives. You can see the traditional way and like this new radical fintech way. So it must be really exciting for you to observe as well.
Few things before we jump in. I'll just go ahead and say we'll be covering a lot of content today. But if you have a question that we haven't addressed as we're going along, please feel free to ask it using the Q&A chat window on your webinar console. I think it should be up in the top left corner. While Brian and I are chatting, we're going to have one of our startup success specialists from Zendesk Online. He's going to help us answer questions as we're talking. I would not pretend that I can talk and type at the same time very well. We'll also reserve some time at the end to take your questions live. And I know we have a limited amount of time today, so in case we don't get to all of your questions, we'll follow up after the webinar and post the Q&A for everyone to access. And secondly, besides Q&A, there will be a survey available in your console after the webinar. We really appreciate your feedback. We wouldn't be doing, our jobs right as a customer support company if we weren't asking for it. So please share your thoughts with us so we can continue to talk about the issues that you care about most. Finally, we'll be emailing you a recording of this webinar along with a list of helpful resources later this week, which you can refer back to or share with the rest of your team.
Really quickly, here's what you can expect from our webinar today. We're going to talk briefly about customer experience for startups and what's happening in the fintech industry in particular. And then I'll turn it over to Brian to introduce us a little bit more to Novo and what they're doing to turn CX into a competitive advantage. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of time for questions at the end and hope that you guys stick around with us for that. For me, customer experience for startups boils down to something really simple. When you're just getting started, and it's your founding team, your product, maybe the pitch deck you're running around to investors, the customer is oftentimes the first thing that really starts making your company real. And in the early days, when brand recognition is low, you haven't had a chance to build reputation yet, the customer is one of those things that's really important, especially when you look to start establishing.
Beyond establishing that minimum floor of trust, you also have the opportunity to actually push what's possible and to drive growth in your company. And when we think about good customer experience here at Zendesk, it can yield some really interesting things. One is brand loyalty. This is the best kind of marketing from customers to their friends who really love your startup. Word of mouth can significantly decrease, cost of acquisition, CAC, which so many of us think a lot about. But it also helps to really promote long-term engagement to keep your customers coming back and driving revenue. I think another really important thing about customer experience, and if you can do it right as a startup, it's so helpful, the product feedback that you can get from your customers. Being attentive, listening to what your users are saying, incorporating their feedback into your product roadmap. These are the things that will help you refine your business and to evolve, the way that you go to market looking forward. And, there's a lot that we can do and think about within the confines of our own companies, but really it's when we get out and talk to customers that all of these things that we think and work on so much start becoming real. And why is it? Why is it that I'm, so confident that these things are possible?
We here at Zendesk have had the opportunity over the last 10, 11, 12 years to work with great startups all over the world, seeing the customer experiences they're building and helping them build those with our tools. And time again, when we're working with these startups, we really, we focus in on three key principles. How is it that you can design your experience to deliver responsiveness, empowerment, and transparency, which are really the three key ingredients to driving that trust and brand loyalty and increasing the lifetime value of your customers. We see disruption happening across a number of industries, and today, before we dive into the Novo case, we want to take just a couple seconds to look at what's happening in Fintech specifically for those of you who may not be a part of the industry, and then also to get some feedback from those of you who are. And speaking of feedback, we thought we'd throw in a quick survey. So for your personal finance, do you use a fintech company or a traditional bank? And let's say as your primary provider, because we recognize that actually a lot of us use both today, both fintech companies and traditional banks. So take a couple seconds. Everyone's logging their responses. Very good. And let's look at the results.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for completing the poll. Obviously not scientific, but it's interesting to see the mix that is presenting itself, right? It's certainly not that we've transitioned all the way from traditional banking to fintechs, but there is, I think as a testament to the size of the market and customer demand, we see a lot of variation in the ways that consumers today want to have their personal finances handled. Great. So let's talk about fintech a little bit more and really the value proposition that's helping this industry and these startups gain traction. Historically, financial services has been a super crowded market, but a market that didn't necessarily recognize and cater to all customer audiences. We see in some areas a growing millennial influence where there's demand for a more personalized, convenient, easy to understand experience. In the B2B side, in the business to business side, we also see large parts of the market that have generally gone, largely ignored for a long time. And so, when we think about where there have been opportunities for differentiation and for disrupting the status quo, convenience, personalization, and financial inclusion have been three of the really important dynamics that have driven the opportunity that companies like Novo today are jumping on top of.
This very basic market map, I think, helps make that clear. There are a lot of areas, again, driven by this move for convenience, personalization, and more inclusion. There's a lot of opportunity being created both in the U.S. and abroad, both in B2B as well as B2C, and we're really excited to see all that's ahead for this market. And I think while a new focus on the customer has opened up a lot of opportunities, it's very clear that there's still room to grow and still room to improve among fintech companies. So while, the vast majority see the customer focus as being embedded across their business, 40% of you are still not satisfied with current efforts. Oftentimes we look at NPS, the Net Promoter Score, which measures customers' experience and the likelihood that a customer will come back. For financial services, the industry average sits around 34 as an NPS, whereas for technology or consumer brands, they're in the 45, 50, 60 range. And so there's a lot of room still to grow in the customer experience that we deliver via fintech startups.
I'm really excited to turn it over to the Novo story and how our friends Brian and the guys at Novo are really starting to reinvent the way that we think about banking for entrepreneurs in a way that I would say the industry had very much overlooked for a long time. Brian?
Great. Thanks for the handoff. A really great overview of the changing landscape of fintech. And Novo is definitely part of the changing economy, the changing marketplace, and we are very much born out of all that has changed. Our founders, Michael and Tyler, have seen that modern technology has allowed starting a business to be easier and faster than ever before. Founders, entrepreneurs, and small businesses can form their companies in a matter of minutes from the palm of their hands using their phones. And this has created a massive influx into the American economy of new small businesses being founded every year at rates that have never been seen before. In fact, there are more small businesses founded every year in the United States than there are babies born, which is wild when you think about it. But I think it just speaks to the changing times here. Everyone talks about the gig economy, and that's kind of what's happening. The unfortunate side of that is banks haven't been able to keep up. You yourself have probably seen that. I know from our previous discussions, you definitely have. Small banks used to be the backbone of the American economy. They were where small business owners used to go to, get loans, put their money, start their businesses at. But now they're getting bullied out of the market by larger banks and the actual consumer. And as companies in the market revolutionizes, consumers and businesses are becoming one and the same. Businesses are acting like consumers. So Novo is creating a better business banking experience with the modern founder in mind. We want to create a seamless online experience, one with no fees, easy checking, and one that is hyper-focused on your experience as the user. One of our big dreams is right now 50% of all new companies founded within a year will close, and Novo really wants to change that. So we have another quick little poll. Many of you might not have heard of us yet, but it'd be very interesting to see if you have heard of Novo. If not, we're about to talk more about us, and it'd be great if we can get introduced, and we'd love if you maybe started working with us. We'll take a quick little second while you answer this, and we'll follow up. Let's move on to the results. Yeah, it looks like a couple of you may have heard of us, but not too many. That's what we're here to do. We're here to intro you to Novo and FinTech as a whole. There's a lot of things and a lot of tools out there that are changing the way everyone's interacting with their businesses and their finances. And Novo definitely wants to be a part of that. So as I mentioned before, we build Novo with the modern business in mind, not businesses for 20 years ago, which a lot of banks still treat you like that. We've positioned ourselves as the modern banking front end for small banks. Michael and Tyler, our founders, were fortunate enough to have partnered with a very forward-thinking small bank out of Boston, Middlesex Federal Savings, and they allow us to directly connect to their core provider, where we can then build a custom stack on top of their banking technology to quickly develop new products and tools which we extend to our users. Novo works with sole proprietors, LLCs, corporations, general partnerships, nonprofits, and the works. So everyone can bank with Novo. Just to kind of highlight, I know I just went over like the business types, but more people are businesses than probably everyone realizes. Businesses are Uber drivers, they're construction workers, consultants, and Novo is trying to be the home for all of these new businesses. Again, the so-called gig economy needs a place. Unfortunately, a lot of the traditional banks don't fully understand these new emerging businesses, and so they either reject them or don't properly serve them or bucket them all into one bucket, which creates awkward experiences for you as a business owner. Two businesses that Novo I'd like to highlight is Mark from Hyber. He's a creative who took to Kickstarter to fund a multi-purpose water bottle that he was used to when he was in the military. And he's an outdoorsman and wants to create like a super durable water bottle. And he raised a bunch of money, hired designers and manufacturer, and he's bringing his product to market here in a few months, and he did it with Novo. Bobby Lee from Lodged Out. She's actually a full-time employee at Square. Lodged Out was her side hobby. She wanted to organize like retreats to disconnect from technology and have people free of technology kind of experience and learn new things in groups. And it became so profitable that she formed a business out of it, and she's managing her full-time job and her business. And again, it's all with Novo. These are just two examples of the changing business landscape. No longer are businesses mom and pop shops or large corporations. They can be one or two people companies. You work from your phone, you work on the go, and you will need a bank to go with you.
Yeah, Brian, I think it strikes me, right? Banks have these KYC, these know your customer rules that have been in place forever, but yet, there's so much that a traditional bank often doesn't seem to know about their customer, right? Doesn't recognize that, maybe the business is their side hustle, or, that they're actually addressing a very new and up-and-coming market. So I think that Novo's approach to really understanding the customer and recognizing that there are a lot of different ways that entrepreneurs are doing business today is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I speak to business owners all the time. A big up-and-coming market is like YouTubers and streamers and content creators, and they try to go to traditional banks, and these banks have no idea what these founders do, have no idea what they make money with. And Novo we're really trying to be on the cutting edge of KYC and on market development, helping these founders find the tools that they need to build their business and stay open longer, stay profitable longer, getting back to that 6% closure rate. We kind of think that the reason why so many businesses close is they don't get any support, and we want to help them and ensure. And we do that through better user experience, which is what this is all about, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I joined Novo back in January. We were making all the classic small business mistakes. We were working out of multiple inboxes, using several support tools, receiving queries and complaints and questions from every social account you can think of, and all of it funneled into nowhere. And what this ended up doing was creating a terrible experience with unmonitored channels. Questions would go unanswered for days at a time. And I was brought in as the head of customer success to build our support and success team and overhaul how we handle support. And within a few months after joining, we quickly realized that we needed to cut down on our channel support and focus in on one tool. And I made the decision to go with Zendesk because Zendesk provided Novo with the flexibility to customize the experience for the users in Novo, security, and it had a regimented ticketing system, all of which fintechs need. We need to have the tickets and the security in case we get audited or we need to report on anything. And so once we launched Novo in April, our statistics, and I have a couple here, dramatically changed. Our handling time improved to 7.5 minutes. Our time to first response went from hours to less than an hour, and our user satisfaction on cases increased from 72% to 91% of all cases ending as a satisfied user. And we're only continuing that today. And again, we built it all on the back of Zendesk.
Yeah, that's a remarkable improvement. I would say that you deserve a lot of the credit directly for that, Brian.
Thank you. I learned a lot at my previous companies, and I brought that knowledge here to Novo, and we're going to continue to grow and excel. I know I've already flipped ahead, but we have another poll, and this one I think really speaks to me because this is what I saw when I got here, is what are the main channels that you're currently using the most when you talk to your users? Phone, email, social, self-service like self-service knowledge base or other. I wish there wasn't all of the above, but I think every business needs to consider what channels they're using and how to best optimize them and what tool best optimize. So let's go check out the results. Yeah, go ahead.
When you arrived at Novo, Brian, what were you guys using the most, and is that still the channel that your customers choose to contact you?
Interesting. So email is always popular. It's just easy to email. But we originally attempted to do live chat, but because it was just me and one other person, we couldn't support 24-hour live chat. So we switched off of live chat. No, it was too difficult. We switched off live chat and built, and I'll get to it in a second, we built a couple of custom widgets that mimic live chat but are more like email ticketing services. And that alone created a noticeable improvement in satisfaction rating. With live chat, people expect instantaneous responses. And when it's taking you hours to get back to people, they just get mad. But as we're scaling now, I have 4 people on my team now instead of 1. We're looking to bring back live chat, which is really exciting. I just noticed that live chat is not one of the channels on this. But let's all pretend it's other, right?
Yeah, click other if live chat is the most popular channel. But I think maybe we should flip forward and look at the results. What do you think?
Definitely. So very interesting results. I definitely think that none of this is to be unexpected. Everyone kind of uses everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about optimization.
When we talk to startups, right? To your point about live channels, like if it's just you and one other person, like being live 24/7 means that you practically never sleep, or your queue builds up. So oftentimes, live chat is something we advise companies to wait until there's a little bit more of a team. With a phone, right, you can have a phone number on your website and be reachable, but manage it, initially as a voicemail box and see what the volume is like, and then use that to inform you in terms of your staffing strategy and whether it's a channel that's going to be meaningful to deploy or not.
And a quick business hack. Everyone always says that, with live chat, you could set working hours and it goes away when it's off. But then your users think that they have no way of contacting you, which only makes them take the social. And you definitely want to avoid that. So things to consider. It's better to, I mean, social is a great channel, especially for user engagement, but you don't want you want to mitigate these complaints about not being able to contact you publicly by providing people with proper channels that they can contact. And Zendesk, as we know, does all of that now. And as I touched on earlier, Novo built several custom tools to elevate our team and our user experience, all by using Zendesk. The first, as I mentioned, we removed live chat. We built the mobile widget using Zendesk. When a user or a non-user comes to our website and types in a question in our little widget, it will automatically query our self-service FAQ page and return articles. We have like 3,000 searches a month and about 8,000 article views a month, all from the searching and the self-service aspect. This widget alone decreased our inbound ticket rate by 30% when we first implemented it, just after we launched Zendesk in April. Highly encourage reinforcing self-service behavior. And for our direct users, Novo is a mobile app, and we want to give our users a secure direct channel to our agents. We built the mobile SDK, which gives you a secured login using Zendesk, access to the FAQ self-service articles, and you can see your previous chat history. I don't know how many of you have apps, but definitely encourage looking at leveraging the SDK tools that come with Zendesk.
So actually, Brian, you said something, I think, there that's really interesting for a lot of other companies. So you mentioned that by using the SDK, you were able to talk to customers who had securely logged in. Is that right? And why does that matter for you?
So, yeah, that's right. In a bank, in finance, in fintech, you need to be sure that the person you're talking to is who they say they are. So essentially, you're giving them a two-factor login. They're logging obviously they're logging into their phone, and they're logging into the Novo app itself, which then logs them into Zendesk. So this gives a high confidence that this person is indeed who they say they are. Because the last thing you want is for someone to be impersonated and then talk to a support to get that support team to tell you information. This is very common with live chat, where people can in real time give you a false email, and now you have access to that person's email and account information. So in fintech, and I'm sure a lot of you yourself would even know that there are certain privacy and security steps that you take through the support channels when interacting with users. And it's for their safety as well as your safety.
Yeah, I think this way of having authenticated support, it saves so much time for the agent and the customer, right? You're not asking for, the last four of the social or, mother's maiden name. You're able to, very quickly get to the business of providing support because you know who the user is, and the agent has their information kind of at the ready once you're logged in.
Exactly. And so the user knows that they're actually talking to us. In the email, it's very easy to phish an email and mimic an email. And not to be an alarmist, but Social Securities and your mother's maiden name and the street that you grew up on, all of that is probably online. It is very easy to acquire that information now with all that's been going on in the world. So fintechs like Novo need to come up with more secure methods of ensuring user security and safety outside of a couple digits and a street address. That makes sense.
Definitely. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the self-service that you have on the website through the widget. You mentioned, I think you said thousands of views of your Help Center articles. How big is the Help Center today? Like, how many articles have you published, and how do you think about growing that, curating that over time? Because these things, you can publish thousands of articles, right? But it takes time and resources to do that, and sometimes maybe your customers aren't even looking for that kind of support.
A very good question. So with proper ticket tagging and data tracking, when people ask us questions, we record what questions they're asking. And if we get enough of them, we say, this needs to be an FAQ, and we make an FAQ about that question. Also, you can see when people type in searches, you can see keywords that come up, and if keywords are not attached to specific articles, we either find an article that keyword should attach to or make a new article. Right now, I think we have between 150 and 200 articles, but we're updating it slowly over time. I know that the average help center has less than 30 or something, but there's a lot of tools, and Zendesk provides a lot as well. You can see and optimize searches and see what they're searching for and what's not returning results, and then provide them those results. People want self-service. Like, they definitely want to talk to a human. If they can't, let's find their answers. But I think 70% of most cases now, people want to self-service first and then find a human if they're unable to find a satisfactory answer. It's usually escalations that they need a human. Like, I have a problem, I need a human, but I have a question, they want to answer it instantly, and generally from their phone.
That's, I've actually never heard it put that way, but that's perfect. Yeah, if I have a problem, I want a human. If I have a question, I want an answer.
Exactly. And again, these are the changing times. And I know that we're B2B technically, but again, it's really becoming B2C as businesses are becoming consumers. So the founders we talk to are really consumers. And you probably see that more in your day-to-day too. It's just a sign of the time.
For us at Zendesk, right? We've always strived to create a consumer-like experience for enterprise software. It's a tall task, but I think that for all of us, whether we're selling to businesses or consumers, we all are consumers, and we know just how impatient we are, how we want kind of things. How we want them, when we want them, and technology, carrying our mobile phones, right? That's really changed the level of expectation that we can have. So, I definitely hear you. I definitely hear you on that front. Brian, do you want to show everybody? I'm really excited about the third thing that you guys built. Do you want to show everybody the other thing that you guys have developed with Zendesk?
Yeah, definitely. This is our biggest achievement that we've built, we think. For our agents, we customize Zendesk as well. We noticed that there was a lot of extra clicks our agents were making. They were switching screens from Zendesk to our internal database. So we decided to build a custom CRM ticket view that just overlays directly into the ticket window. So when you click on a ticket on the right side, we have this little widget that populates with data directly from our admin. It adds a CRM. Our agents can leave notes. It tracks interactions. It pulls in information about their profile, their previous account activity. And this has been one of the most impactful changes we've made to our customer experience. It was an internal change. This is one of the reasons we think that our average handling time decreased to 7.5 minutes, and it's actually getting closer to 7 minutes now. So this widget, especially with banking, so when a user comes up, it sees their email, checks it with our system, and it populates their recent transactions and everything. This allows our agents to know more about our users in the moment, better answer their questions because we can see their previous transactions, their previous issues, and personalize the responses in ways that we weren't able to do before. Before, we were having troubles with people saying that they didn't feel like our agents knew who they were or what their transactions were, and this has really been a big change for us. We really are excited that this is one of the things that we've gotten with Zendesk.
Yeah, and this, we talked before, this was really important for Novo because as you provide different tiers of support, there's real benefit in providing some limited information to all of your agents, but there's levels of system access that you, for security reasons, really need to protect your agents from, to keep them at arm's length with certain user account information and, read, write access. Is that right?
Exactly. We have 3 tiers of agents. So we have tier 1, 2, and 3. We want all of our agents, as you said, to see some level of understanding of our users, but we don't want to give them full access to our database because that means they'll be able to see everything and potentially edit everything. We restrict that. Only a handful of people can get that access, and those are our most experienced agents, our direct bank tellers from our partner bank. So our newer agents and things like that, like our Novus agents or juniors, they have this widget which helps them see into the database without seeing social and seeing date of birth and all of this. And this has been great because now we're able to hire more agents and educate them better about our user base without giving them database access. I don't even have database access. I use this widget. So this has been it's a big security thing that it was primarily the driving factor behind it, but also the understanding our users better.
Yeah, that's great. And you built it all just with the standard Zendesk apps framework. Is that right?
Yeah, we got your API docs and quickly realized we can connect and build this. And we had developers spin this up in a week or 2. I think we put this all together in like 2, maybe 3 weeks. And it's been working ever since, and it's been great. I think we made a couple minor updates. Like when users have 2 emails, we needed to add like both emails to the widget. But it's yeah, we've loved it, and and as I just hired 2 new people, to them this is the only thing they know about our users, and they'll never see the database. So it's been really good.
Yeah, and when you add an admin note, where does that note get stored?
So it gets stored directly. The admin is our database, and it gets stored directly in our database for all of the people who have admin access. So this is like the KYC team, the Know Your Business team or customer, and our internal risk and banking team. These are the actual bankers, the people who monitor risk and fraud, but they get to see all these notes. And then other agents on Zendesk can see all these notes as well because they populate in this field. So you can leave actions or event notes to other people internally, like, oh, this user needs to order a debit card and assign it to the right person, or, oh, it's this person's birthday coming up. We should be sure to like send them a, like a happy birthday email, things like that. We've actually done that. So those are like the things that you can do with the admin notes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it makes us so happy when we see customers, really take the APIs that we have, or the SDKs like you did too, and just build what it is that they need, right? And we pride ourselves that this is one of the things that our system is really great at. It's allowing the company to surface the information that is really important to an agent when the agent needs it, to really drive that best end customer experience for the end user. So when you showed this to us the first time, we were so excited to see it, and really glad that you showed it to the group here today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, really proud, and it's one of the things that we really love here. And the other support tools did not offer us this flexibility. And since we have developer resources, like one of our founders he worked on the API, we're able to quickly spin these up, and that's one of our leverage points is we can quickly spin up this technology to create a better experience for our users, where traditional banking experiences cannot do that. And we're only going to continue to focus on users going forward, as we can see here. So Novo is going to continue keeping customers as the main focus with several key initiatives coming up, but this is only just the beginning for us. We've started recently doing agent support shadowing, in which everyone in Novo will sit with a customer success representative and do tickets with them, or observe them doing tickets, and help them answer cases and talk to customers. This has been a huge change and really helps our development and our product teams better understand user frustrations or questions and make rapid innovation changes. And we've had real-time bug fixing based off of this. We've also started like a serious feedback loop. I mentioned briefly tagging cases. We log and tag every user case that comes in with a tag, and these tags filter up into our product team and our dev team to see what are the common complaints, feature requests, what are the common questions, which I mentioned is how we develop our FAQ articles. And one of the things we're now leveraging Zendesk for is what we're going to do is a new tiered agent, which is called Onboarding Agents. We're going to be inserting call and live chat support directly into our application funnel and have a specialized agent whose sole job is applications and helping new businesses onboard with the app, answer their questions, upload documentation, and customize the bank opening experience for them. And we really think that these will help continue to bear fruit for our users and provide a better experience, that we want to be the different bank that they're used to.
Yeah, customer support, it really has to be a full company motion, right? I think that what you guys are doing with the support agent shadowing and the feedback loop for products, you're driving so much good value back within the company so that people can iterate and build better products and better experiences for the customers. And the having this onboarding SWAT team, right? It just, I think, goes to show, customer support isn't just for after post-sale transaction, right? Like during the onboarding, if you're in software during the trial, those first interactions, those first hours, days, weeks, whatever it is, are critical to really converting a user to a long-term customer. And so I think it's super smart and really exciting to see what some of these new initiatives you guys are launching, what fruits they'll bear for you.
Definitely, and we're really excited too, and thank you for your compliments. It's all about taking customer service and turning it into customer support, which then ultimately becomes customer success. And once you change that mindset that you're supporting your users so they're more successful, is really when you'll start to see massive dividends. And it starts before they're actually paying you anything. Customer support starts from the minute that they first find out about your business, is when you need to start supporting them. And it could take multiple months and multiple touch points, but it's really part of the journey now, and it's not something that can be overlooked anymore.
No, I definitely agree. Cool. Well,
so I guess
with that, maybe we can move to share a couple of resources and then get into the questions that our webinar attendees have been submitting. We wanted to share just two things with you very quickly. The first is a link to our customer experience trends report. This is what we call the Zendesk benchmark. You already saw Novo's outstanding customer metrics on first reply time, on CSAT, on time to resolution. You can compare yourself to others in financial services broadly or a different industry by going to our website and digging through the data that we collect from our opted-in customers and provide at an aggregated level. And then for those of you who might be with us today who are startups but not currently using Zendesk, we want to make sure that you know about our Zendesk for Startups program. We encourage any company to get started with us. We provide free software credits so that you can look at all of the tools that Brian talked about today, that you can start hacking and building what you need for serving your customers. And so please go over to zendesk.com/startups if you want to learn more. And with that, over to questions.
All right, great. It looks like we have several questions coming in for you, Brian. So let me just go through really quickly. We've got a few questions about the team at Novo. So one of our listeners was asking, what does your leadership team look like within the customer experience function? And then related to that, how does someone in your role and other upper management roles interact with the agents at Novo?
Good question. I think interacting with the team is very important. For what the team looks like, since we're very small here, it goes agents, myself, founders. So the leadership team is founders, and then myself, and then we interface directly with the agents often. And since we're just a small team, the agents sit behind myself and one of the founders. So we're constantly interfacing with them every day, reviewing tickets with them and discussing, the events of the day or any notable occurrences. So we have a lot of hands-on one-on-one time with the agents, and it's something that I personally really value. I think there's always, as I mentioned with the shadowing, it's really important to ensure that everyone in the company sees the customer experience, particularly the support experience, to ensure that they can understand everything that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe somewhat related to that, we got a couple of questions asking if you've considered outsourcing any of your customer support function yet. Is it too early? Are there parts of the function that you think about, or maybe things that you could outsource in the future?
It's a very good question. It's also like the hot topic of the day in banking and fintech. So for direct outsourcing overseas, no, Novo does not intend to do that in the foreseeable future. Since we're an American bank working for American businesses, we want to ensure that we support them here in the States. Now that doesn't mean that we won't have a remote team at some point, because we're in New York City. Real estate's a premium. I already mentioned that we're stuffed into this office. We do plan on putting a remote site up probably in the next 6 months across one of the rivers, either in Queens or Jersey, somewhere really close by where I can be at both offices within a couple minutes if I need to be. But that's the direction we're taking our support team.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, in the early days, it's so important to have everyone close together, especially when you're iterating on the product quickly, to have that loop very, very, very close and at the center of the company. Let's see. We have a question about agent onboarding. Someone's asking if you can, and maybe I'll chime in a little bit here. The onboarding for agents that you do, is that based on a Zendesk solution? And can you describe a little bit more the onboarding that you provide?
Yeah, so I think so we do plan on developing what we would call an onboarding specialist. I have pie in the sky dreams of being like your virtual teller or something. That's kind of everyone hates that name. But essentially someone that during your application will engage with you and reach out and help you in your business, set up your application and set up your account in a way that best fits your business. And as we start providing more products and partnership integrations, helping you quickly set those up and making sure that you and your business are set up to run the second your account is open. We have a firm belief that this is the future, that people like people used to go into banks and interface with people all the time, and all the digital experiences, like even though like we are building a digital bank, we want to build a digital bank with a face and someone that knows you and that you know them, that you can turn to when you need them. And so this onboarding agent would be, through Zendesk tools like live chat or call, would be able to interface with you when you needed it directly, particularly in the application process. As we're focusing on scaling right now, the application is a big focus, where we're intending to grow our user base and the people that we can service through the application.
Got it. Right. And maybe a question to kind of talk a little bit more about your users. Some folks are asking, how do you think about segmenting your customers? You talked before about the different tiers of support you provide. How do you think about the groupings of your customers today?
That's a very, very good question, and one that is always evolving. The answer is always evolving. Simply, you can break people down into like sole proprietors, LLCs, corporations, and then partnerships and NPOs. But you can also then segment people down into what their actual business needs are. Like some people are coming to us simply for a checking and debit account, but maybe some people need payroll or some people need wire transfers and things like that. And so as you start seeing business behaviors and personas, that is really where I think the segmentation for banking will go. Is not that obviously different types of companies have different needs, but what is it that they are coming to Novo or to any bank account for, and their intended needs and use, and then how do we assist them with those intended needs and uses? So the segmentation like that, and we see it internally already, but there's, as I mentioned previously with like Bobby Lee and Mark, like I gave those two as specific examples, but there are countless people who match that profile in our system, and I expect that to continue as we scale up.
Great. Jumping back now to the team that you have there at Novo, we got a question, which is, how do you know when you're ready to grow your customer support team or your customer success team?
That's a very good question, one that is every company deals with. It's interesting. I just had lunch with a buddy who we discussed this essentially as well. It's you want to be paying attention to how many users you have and how many inbound leads you have, and assess the capacity or how many users your agents or you can sustain in an efficient manner that is positive for both you and them. Like you don't want to work yourself to death, but you don't want them to be waiting for 24 hours. Like as I mentioned, we at one point offered live chat, but we couldn't effectively monitor the channel. We pulled it back, which created a better user experience. We're bringing it back, but like that's a kind of an example of understanding your limitations and the needs of the people who want to communicate with you. And so if you're finding that you're not able, or you see that like there's an increase in volume of tickets, you want to make sure you do proper modeling so then you can budget out hires that match when you need them, which is how we kind of know that we're going to be hiring a few more people by the end of the year because of that.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, I know a lot of the other startups that we talk to, right? They oftentimes will look at their total ticket volume, how that's trending, first reply time and full resolution time are a couple of the other metrics that people watch closely. And, you know, if the volume's going up and those response rates are starting to decline, you know, that's often a trigger to think about adding more folks to the team. And then, of course, if CSAT if the customer satisfaction is feeling any downward pressure, you know, that oftentimes is something that's an important trigger to adding more folks to the team.
Those are all very good points. I think Zendesk offers a lot of education material around this, which I've personally found helpful. So I encourage, not to plug Zendesk, but you know, here we're here. I definitely have personally found all of that information like very helpful with strategy and planning. So I also encourage people to explore all the resources available, or it doesn't hurt to ask people. Like asking other companies that are like you what they do, I think has been a big help for me and Novo. Like we asking people things, and people will surprisingly tell you a lot about what's going on in Oz. Yeah, I think it's cool.
Oh, great. Thanks. It looks like we had a couple of questions that are maybe about some of the proprietary onboarding and KYC things that you guys do there at Novo. We're going to skip those, and maybe I'll just grab the last question we have in the queue. It feels like a good place to wrap up today. Someone's asking, where does Novo see its greatest contribution in preventing companies from closing during their first year?
Very good question, as this is one of our major goals. Education and being a partner with businesses, be that from providing you value-added actual features like tools and unique connection to Xero, QuickBooks, and payroll services, or just providing you an education tool set that explains taxes or explains structuring and hiring and things around payroll. Like those are the types of things that since so many business owners, especially now as the gig economy is in full effect, this is their first time doing it, and there's no playbook that they're doing it from. They're kind of just making it up as they go. Obviously, there's a lot of things online, but you don't get those things from your bank, or they're not in one centralized location. So Novo is ramping up and building out this content machine to provide as much education, tips, tricks, and things like that that we've learned or our users have told us that they've learned, to essentially try to build a community of founders for founders.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And I think with that, we will wrap up today. Thank you again, Brian, so much for joining me and joining the group that's online today. I really enjoyed the chat and the presentation.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks a lot again for having me today. Really had a lot of fun. So looking forward to hearing more.
Fantastic.